Welcome, Mark. We're doing this first of our chats with Gavin Rich here. How's it, Gavin?
How's it, Brendan? Not like I haven't seen you for a while.
But doing this chat with Gavin, we're doing a sort of a where are they now type thing. And our guest today is Mark Andrews, World Cup winning Springbok. How's it, Mark?
How's it, guys? Normally I'd say nice to be here, but I'm at home, so nice to be here.
Mark, it's you're not just a World Cup winning player. You also, of course, for quite a while, if I remember correctly, were dovetailing with Joost, and maybe even before that, James Small. I'm not sure. As the most capped Springbok player.
Yeah, Gav. There was a little race between myself and Joost and James, the first to 50. Luckily, James fell out of favour more for his off-field behaviour than on-field. So, and then Joost, he got injured, I think, at one stage and missed a couple of games. And I managed to sneak in to become the first Springbok to play 50 test matches, which was pretty nice. And then from 50 test matches, I think right till my last test match at 77, Joost and I kind of yo-yoed. He played one game more than me. He got injured. He got dropped. I played one or two more ahead of him. So we yo-yoed until I retired. I think when I retired, I was ahead of him, and then he came back and played, I think, for 2 more years.
Yeah. Well, he played into the Australia era, whereas you seem to miss the boat there for some reason. Maybe we'll go into that later.
Yeah, maybe we can go into that later. I'm not sure if I've got my lawyers on standby, but anyway, I'll make me them.
It was a strange time, the Australia time. Yes.
Yeah. That's putting it nasty, Brendan.
Yeah.
You got a question, Brendan?
Yeah, Mark. Just let's start off with where you are now. I mean, you're living now in East London. You farming at the moment?
No, I've never. When I became a professional rugby player and I got the World Cup contracts in '95, my dad's dream was for me to be a farmer. He owned farms. My 2 boys were into business. They were more the academics of the family, even though they all played rugby to a high level. But and I had the interest in farming. So we had a couple of family farms. The last farm that made up the whole valley, where we farmed, became the market. At the same time, I got my World Cup contract in '95. So I went from earning, 4,500 rand a year to earning substantially more, so I could afford to buy a farm. So I bought a farm, which meant our family owned one whole valley. And my dad's plan for me was when I retired from rugby, or when rugby retired me, I could come back and farm with him. Things didn't quite work out like that. He retired from farming, came to Gnubi. I ended up with my farm, and then my 2 brothers inherited the other farms. And then I just realized I was never actually going to go back and live in a little place in Elliot and go and farm. And even though I love the farms, it just wasn't. I think I spent too much time in the city, and just financially, I knew that farming. I mean, that's the quickest way to make $1 million farming. You start with $1 million. So I knew that it wasn't going to secure my future ever. So I ended up selling farms about 7 years ago.
But at the moment, I'm right in saying that at the moment you're dovetailing between Durban and East London.
Sorry to answer that long-winded reply.
No.
I'm actually in lockdown. I've got a home in East London. When I was playing rugby, I always wanted to come back to the Eastern Cape. The Eastern Cape is where people knew me before I became famous as such. And I've always felt more at home. I could just be myself because people knew who I was. I didn't have to be what people expect me to be. So I found this piece of land on the Gnubi River about 11 years ago. A mate and I were at school together and varsity together, played into rugby together in the 20s. He came back here from London, got in the property game. So we bought a piece of land and we sold off the stands to just family and friends. So I've got my 2 brothers who also have 11 stands here. And we own the most incredible piece of land on the Gnubi River. Yeah, so it's like a small holding, but right next to town. So this is actually my home. But of course, my kids are schooled in Durban. I'm a migrant worker, so my working life in Durban, but my home is in East London.
Okay, and your kid, certainly your sons are at Kearsney, you told me.
Yeah, I've got 2 sons at Kearsney and 1 daughter at Durban Girls College.
Okay. Just going back into your earlier, just to refresh people who don't remember this, you were both a South African schools water polo player and a South African schools rugby player when you were at Selborne, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. I mean, people. I want to say to me. I mean, was I sad when I finished playing rugby when I retired? And I was lucky. I played 13 years professionally. But I wasn't that sad because it allowed me to go back and play water polo. So when I retired from rugby a week or two later, myself and Ollie Leroux, who played water polo, he was in Durban still, said, "Hey Mark, you should come and play for QP Rangers. It's a school in the Durban North area." I thought, geez, I would love to play polo again. And I played 5-6 years masters. I played in the second division of the league. It's actually what my passion is. I mean, rugby was my career, and where I was probably more talented, but water polo was my passion.
And you got one of your sons is a good water polo player, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, my oldest son he's made the Natal sides all the way through his grades. He's made the SA and a 15 side and a 16 side. He just made the KZN men's side. My other little guy is in grade 10, made the Kersney first side from grade 8. So, and my daughter is probably my best polo player. She's in grade 7. So luckily, I've told my kids they can play any sport they like as long as it's water polo. So they don't have to play rugby, they don't have to play hockey, netball, but rugby they have to play. I mean, water polo they have to play.
Obviously, you had to stop playing water polo when you left school because I'm right in saying you went to Stellenbosch on a rugby scholarship, didn't you?
Well, I actually went on a rugby and I thought a water polo scholarship, on a sports scholarship, because I played SS schools rugby and water polo. But when I arrived there, they made it very clear to me that I was actually there on a rugby scholarship, and water polo didn't really feature as a sport at Stellenbosch. And it irritated them quite a bit because when I arrived, straight away it was water polo season. So I was playing polo for the Stellenbosch first side, and then I was playing Currie Cup for Border men's water polo side. And it was getting in the way of the rugby. And eventually they had to call me in and say, "Listen, Andrews, you may think you're on a sports scholarship, but you're actually on a rugby scholarship. So stop playing this stupid damn water polo, and we expect you to every training session for rugby."
And yet you ended up leaving Stellenbosch and went to play club rugby in France because they weren't going to select you in the end. I mean, tell us that story.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think for me, it's quite interesting. I'm a proper Soti. I grew up in a town called Elliot. Osterrand and I were in the same class in grade sub A and sub B. I think I was 1 year ahead of him, but we shared. It was one big classroom. The right hand side is English, the left hand side is Afrikaans. One teacher teaching this side, one that side, with a big stove in the middle because he used to get so cold in Elliot. But I could speak Afrikaans. I wasn't fluent enough. When I made SS schools rugby and all the universities sent me bursary or scholarship offers, my father said to me, "Listen, if you want to be a Springbok rugby player, there's only one university that almost guarantees you, if you have the talent, to be a Springbok, and that's Stellenbosch. They have the most numbers. Doc Craven's there. I mean, that is if that's what you want." And I didn't really know what else I wanted to do in life. So I thought, well, rugby's not going to give me a living, but it's going to open doors for me in life. Because South Africa is a rugby country, it's a rugby society. So I went to Stellenbosch, arrived there, battled a bit, not battled academically. I mean, I was doing menslike bewegingskunde, which is still the biggest Afrikaans word I can pronounce today, which is human movement studies. So I was there for a while. When I was there, I realized that I actually didn't really want to study. I didn't know what I wanted to study, but I wanted to play rugby. And then Stellenbosch had under 19 league, or Western Cape, or the Cape, and a 19 league and a 21 league. And about 4 games into the season, so I was in the 19A side. And about 4 games into the season, the rest of the clubs couldn't field a full 19 at one side. So they banished the 19 league and made it on a 21 league. So Stellenbosch just took basically our and the 19A side, and with some of that in 21B players, they just made us the B side. So I hadn't played B-side rugby in my life. So I got pretty frustrated at training sessions when I was told to stop competing in line-outs and stuffing up the drills for the A side because they were trying to do their attacks and now it's still their line-out. So and at one training session, I eventually said to the coach, I said, "Well, after being cucked out for stealing their ball again and stuffing up the drill. I said, well, there's an easy way to solve this. Just put me in the A side.
Mm-hmm.
And I got chased off the field for being a smart ass. And then I just got to beat my bonnet, and the coach and I clashed. And eventually he said to me, to my face, he said, you got to understand something. He said, the Englishmen have had it too easy in this country. And he said, the Afrikaners have had to fight for everything. And when the going gets tough, I'll always choose an Afrikaner ahead of an Englishman. Because Englishmen have got no backbone. I just thought to myself, what am I doing here? No matter how good I am, no matter how much better I am than the locks in the A side, because I'm English, I'm not going to get a chance to play in the A side. So I found my cousin Keith Andrews, who had been at UCT, was then working at SARS. I said, Keith, what do I do? I said, I can't take this. I'm going to hit someone. I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. And then he happened to speak to his old club in France, Aurillac, where he played for 2 seasons. And they were trying to get him back for the next season, but he couldn't. So he said, well, what, my nephew's or my cousin, he's available. So they said, we're looking for an 8th man, come flank, come lock. He said, no, 8th man, lock, you can do all of them. So he phoned me, and I remember Rez, the phone call came, and I went to the phone, this Keith, and he said to me, listen, I've got you a contract in France, you want to go? So what do you mean? He said, you got to leave in the next week or 2. Well, once your visa's done, you got to go if they want you. So I remember speaking to my father. My father said, you're crazy, you're stuffing up your education. And eventually, it was ironic that the same week that I actually went to have my papers released from Stellenbosch, I got selected for the Western Province under 21 side on the bench, but from the B side of Stellenbosch. Okay. So I think if I'd probably stayed, I may have ended up wearing the blue and white jersey for the rest of my career, but I ended up going to France.
So when you went to Durban, you ended up playing. I remember your debut quite well, actually. You played, I think it was a game that Tony Watson, the first game in 146 that Tony Watson missed, where he could have been in. Yeah.
And you made his 100th game for Natal.
It was, yeah. You played supposed Fleis, and he was playing his 100th game. Yeah, it was Woodburn, and you remember those? They had those wishbone posts, where that's not normal rugby posts at all. But I remember what you told me about that game was that. You, for the last time in your career, until you became captain yourself later on, actually kicked the ball.
Well, Robert du Preez was our scrum half. He played Northern Transvaal, and he was a big name in the Shark side, and he was a very intense human being, very intense rugby player then. So I've been playing France, where it's a bit of laissez-faire, and you can do what you like, and you kind of. So I rated myself as a bit of an all-rounder. So I got the ball on the main grandstand touchdown. I was dropping back. I don't know what. I played a bit of loose forward, and I was playing France a bit, not 8th man, loose forward. And the ball comes. I get the ball on the touchdown. I see the line. I try and chip it over, a chip and chase, and I kick it directly into touch. So when I turn around like the line out, yes, as I get a slap in the side of the head, and Robert du Preez cucks all over him. Tells me that if I ever kick the ball on the rugby field for the Sharks again, he will personally stuff me up. And that was the last time, I think, until I became captain. You're right.
You had quite a meteoric rise in the sense that I remember speaking when I did my book on the spring. You were featured in my book I did last year, and I later on spoke to AJ Fenter, and he said to me like he had a very different career to you in the sense that he made a Springbok debut probably 6 or 7 years into his career, whereas you in your very first season, I know you didn't play a test, but you went on that first tour to Argentina at the end of 93, I think, 93, and you went out of position as a flank. What was that? I mean, you basically went from being a sort of student player. I mean, you started off the year playing for varsity, and at the end of the year, you're a Springbok. I mean, to tell us about that. It must have been, and there was that huge rivalry at that stage with Transvaal, between Natal and Transvaal. So there was some real test match type games in that era.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at my career, and I think it's about opportunities which arose in my career, and I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. So I was lucky enough to be in Natal when Ian McIntosh said to me, "Don't go back to the Cape, stay here, because I bet you the Western Province coach doesn't know who you are. I do." I was in the shortlist for the 92 Currie Cup final. I was playing club rugby in Natal and 21 side. My plan was to go back and study UCT and stay in the Cape. Sean Platford ended up getting cancer, and he was the lock who played in 92. So he couldn't play the 93 season. Steve Atherton was in Italy, and he couldn't come back. They wouldn't release him from his contract. So you had two of the players who played. It was Sean Platford, Steve Atherton, and Faisal Sark, the three locks. Two of them were unavailable at the start of the 93 season. So by default, I was in the right place. I was invited into all the training sessions. And then I started playing the initial games because those two players weren't available. Sean didn't end up making the comeback. So the three locks ended up just being myself, Flace, and Steve Atherton. Then in the middle of 94, the Australian tour, both Steve and Flace went to Australia in the Australian tour in 93, which then gave me the exposure to play Currie Cup. I think it was the Lion Cup. There were a couple of other cups going on. So I got the opportunity to play and build some confidence. At the same time, I was playing in a Shark side, in a Tel side then, that was full of some incredible players. So by the time 94 came along, I was playing Super Rugby, and I was playing with some. I mean, if you just go through some of the names, I think anybody who watched rugby during that era can probably name 80% of the Shark side from that era. I mean, I was lucky enough to play with some phenomenal players, which gave me phenomenal confidence because I believe that I could be as good as I wanted to be. So in 94 or 93, I got game time, which is what you need to prove yourself. I had a coach, Ian McIntosh, who I've got immense respect for and was very lucky to have as the right coach that time in my career. And then I had the players around me that gave me the confidence to be as good as I could be. And things just fell into place. Ian McIntosh was the coach for the Springboks at the end of the season. I'd proven myself to him during the season. So, I worked damn hard, but I was also lucky. I took the opportunities that came along, I'd like to think.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, Gav, just to interrupt. That same tour, that was the tour with the Battle of Tucuman.
Yeah, I see that's been going around social media. I must have been sent that about 10 times. I was lucky enough to be actually sitting on the grandstand. I wasn't playing, thank goodness. So myself, Juba, I can't remember who the other players were on the grandstand with all the supporters. And I can remember sitting down, and this little latte came across, and we were sitting like on the end, but we were probably 20 seats from the front. But there was a 5-meter like mesh fence around the field, which obviously we don't have in South Africa, in most places in the world. We try to work out what it must be for the soccer oaks and soccer players or hooligans and whatever. And as we sat down, this latte came across, must have been 5 years old, and just swore at us. F you, Yankee, F you, Yankee. Like, we looked at us like, and we're like, go away, man, what are you talking about? Don't swear at us. And then he ran back to his arm man like guy 5, and then the next light he came across and was swearing at us. We're like, this is before the game's even started. Like, all warming up outside, sitting there. As you know, right in the game, it kicks off into a major fight, and then the crowd goes crazy. So we all stand up and are all getting into it. Next thing, a beer can comes flying and hits Juba on the head. So someone from below, while we stood up, then turned around and just threw a beer can and hit Juba there. So Juba then stands up and starts like, and then we all almost start changing like, and then we realized that we are surrounded by thousands of mad Argentinians who want to fight. And then there was security, the policemen, and they realized that it was going to turn into a bloodbath in the grandstand, not maybe in the field. And they came to us and they said, you better come with us. And as we were being led down the grandstand, they were spitting on our blazers. Like, so spitting on us. I mean, our blazers were full of spit as we got down. And we watched the rest of the game on the side of the field. I mean, it was seriously just chaos. It was unbelievable. I played rugby in France 2 years before that, where I think I've got a diary still. I played 24 games and 16 were all-out brawls. There were 5 games out of that were just a couple of punches thrown. But so I was used to fighting and used to some mad games. But that Tucuman was just something unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine. Gav, do you want to? I was going to say the next one, 94. You were on that famous tour, probably the last time. It's the last time the Springboks toured New Zealand. That must have been.
I think before that, let's talk about your first game for Springboks against England. Sorry.
Yeah, but my first game, yeah. I
The
was
background to that, which is that they'd really stuffed us up at Loftus the week before.
Loftus. But myself, SA Rugby had chosen a South African president's team, I think they were called. And we played against Northern Transvaal, the Bulls, as a curtain raiser to the... And I think we won the game. But Keith Andrews, myself, I think Steve Atherton on the side, there were quite a few Natal boys. And we all played pretty well, and then we got a hardie in the test match. I remember sitting in the grandstand with Keith Andrews, and our seats were right at the back of the main grandstand. And we were sitting there, and after the Boks were about 10-0 down, Keith turned to me and he said, "Hey, cuz, this is a good one to miss, my boy." He said, "Watch next week." He said, "You may have a chance here." And truth God, next week, there were 6 changes to that side. Got in the side, played against England at Newlands, my first test match. And, yeah, we turned the result around, won that game, and effectively my career started.
And the Ian McIntosh motivation when you got into your hotel room?
Yes, he had some newspaper, and I hope it wasn't you, Gav.
It wasn't me. I was still in those days.
It was one of the Western Cape papers, probably Mark Kierhane, but anyway. It was a picture of all of us, the whole Springbok side, all our faces. And it said, "Is this a joke?" It was the headline. "Is this a joke?" With all our, I can't remember if it was the whole team's faces or just the new guys replacing the 6 guys who've been dropped. And Ian McIntosh had cut this out and photostated them. And in every team, in every room, player's room, on the mirror, between your beds, you have a mirror next to the TV. There was this thing. So we walked in, and that's the first thing you saw. "Is this a joke?" I remember the whole week you were just boarding us up, going, "Guys, they think you're a joke. They think you're just I can still remember the first 2 minutes. They kicked us on to us. We caught the ball, went down. Box kicked it, I think, US. They caught it. Got half tackle on the halfway line. I think I hit that ruck so hard that I think I actually broke my shoulder I couldn't feel my arm. I remember standing up. I couldn't bind on Steve Atherton. I think it was Steve Atherton. I couldn't lift my arm. I was completely paralyzed. We were like men possessed in that game. But it was, I think, when you play for the Springboks, I think every game should be like that. So I loved it, and it was a great start of my career.
And then you went to New Zealand for the following game. Your next test was in Dunedin. I remember that test well. You had a very good sort of welcome to the Springbok All Black rivalry from, I think it was Zinzan Brooke, Aaron Penne. I can't remember who the other guys were, but they got stuck into you quite early.
Yes.
Tell me about the effect that had on your later career as well.
In rugby in those days, I like to say it was played by harder men than today, because you could ruck. And it was a big part of the game. And our New Zealanders basically were the best in the world at rucking. Now, in South Africa, our fields are dry. You don't spend too much time. You get tackled, you can roll. In New Zealand, it's wet fields. They weren't well manicured. They were like mud bars. If you're caught in the bottom, you couldn't really move that easy. So the New Zealanders had perfected rucking. We get across at Dunedin. I think it was -3 degrees. Look at the records. I think it got to 1 degree during the game. I could still remember thinking, it's impossible. I couldn't feel my fingers. How are we going to play in this? And the game started off, and there were some names in that All Black pack that if you know your rugby and your All Black rugby, you'll know they were feared human beings. There was Richard Lowe, who I think should be in prison now, serving close to life. There was Fitzpatrick, who should be in politics now. There was Aaron Penne. I don't know if you remember the flanker. He's probably working in a dairy farm now, milking cows. There was Robert Brooke, who I have a lot of respect for, as a tough man. Probably the only really nice person was Ian Jones. Then was Zinzan Brooke, also tough as you get. I can't remember. I think Brewer was the other flanker, also a hell of a tough guy.
He played then, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just really tough guys. And I made a tackle just on our 22 on the open side of the grandstand, probably 20 minutes into the game. I tackle, and I couldn't get out. I mean, but as I was trying to hold the guy down, and these guys came over me. And I think all those people I mentioned, they didn't come over me. They basically got stuck on top of me, and they just started rucking. And I honestly felt pain because they were rucking me, but the movement was supposed to be you always ruck with your boots backwards. You couldn't stamp on them. what they do, they almost stand on you with the one boot and then ruck you and then stand on you. And so you couldn't get out even if you tried. But they just mauled me. I remember eventually the referee blew the whistle. I rolled to the side and I try and tell my boys in that when they started playing rugby as well. I said, guys, there's no shame in being scared. I said, my first test match against All Blacks, I wasn't just scared, I was terrified. When I got rucked, I honestly thought that I was going to die. I remember standing up and I had a hole in my sock and my calf. We were sponsored by Medac, it's a Cape Town company. They had like these wetsuit underpants. I had a hole through them, hole through my pants, a hole through my Springbok jersey, and there was blood in my jersey, on my pants, on my leg, on my shop, and I was on fire. Because they imagine that cold weather and they'd just been rucked with steel studs. And I honestly nearly started crying. I stood up there in pain like I hadn't experienced every feel before, and just thinking, these acts will actually kill you if they get the chance. They will maim me. I mean, you're not just playing rugby here. This is something more than just rugby. Later in that game, I got in the bottom of the ruck on the far. We tried them all for a line out for a try. Got collapsed and I got caught under the ruck and my ankle was sticking out. And I'll never forget this. Zinzan Brooke went and the ball rolled into the touch. He went and picked the ball, and as he came back, the referee had given a penalty to them, and obviously at the 15-yard line. So as he was going past me, the referee was run off. So everybody was on sight of the touchman. The linesman was going down the touchdown, and he stopped, and he just stuck his two back studs into my ankle and just twisted. I mean, you can imagine how sore these guys at the best of times.
Yeah.
I remember being caught in the people and trying to get up, and he just leaned over and he said, "Andrews, you're a joke. You don't deserve that jersey." And he walked off. I spent the rest of my career trying to kill Zinzan Brooke. If you look at the test match in Wellington, you'll see he played with a big white head guard. You put a drop over in that game, I think. But he had a big white head guard because his eye got gashed open. I'm not sure to say I'm proud or not proud to say, but honestly, I flinked him in one ruck and he was staying over it. I tried to kill him. I hit him with my head, gashed his eye open. I said, "You don't deserve that jersey." He just smiled at me. He laughed. The rest of my career, every single game we played against him, I promise you, I tried to maim Zinzan Brooke. But I never managed to take him off the field because he was one tough guy and one great All Black.
And that was why I think Anton Oliver, towards the end of your career, told you that you were, after having met you and had a conversation with you, he said to you, "You're actually quite a nice guy." He said, everybody in New Zealand thinks you're a psycho, and all the players think you're a psycho.
Well, you know what? I'd like to think on the field I was. I mean, I didn't, and it's one part of my game, of my career, which I probably regret, but I also don't regret. I never, ever, ever at a cocktail party, we used to always have cocktail parties with opposing players after the game. Went and spoke to anybody. I'd sit in the corner and brood. I wouldn't speak to them. I'd dare stare the oaks, the opposing players. I'd never go and speak to them. Because even Hitler, to those people who he wanted those people to like him, he could be pleasant. I'm sure he could. Yeah. So if I went and spoke to Robin Brooke or Zinzan Brooke, he probably was a nice guy. He was probably a great guy. And the next time I played against him, I wouldn't try and hurt him as badly because he wasn't such a bad guy. So in my mind, they were all assholes. They were all the most terrible people in the world, and I wanted to hurt them every single game because I didn't like it. After my career when I played barbars, they were all fantastic guys. I mean, the All Black guys were some of the players that I respected the most and I really admired and I enjoyed. But I didn't ever want to like one of them because when it came that moment in the field, I never wanted to hold back subconsciously. I wanted to hurt them. So I think it gave me a competitive advantage, but it did leave them with a feeling that I was a bit of a psycho.